There have been quite a few changes to my desk setup over the past year, and I've gotten quite a few messages from people who are Deskperate to know what has changed and how it all works. So I will do my best today to describe it, and if there's anything that you think would be good for your workflow, I'll be sure to put links in the description. Believe it or not, I think the best place to start on this desk tour is with the desks themselves. There are two of them, and they are the same Husky workbenches that I've used basically forever, and they're in an L configuration, kind of, but they're not totally, this one isn't totally put to the edge over there, so that way I have more usable space on it. These are really just workbenches from Home Depot, but what I've changed mostly since last time I talked about my desk setup is I've removed all of the crossbars on these. So for example, here's my regular workbench in our garage, and this is just totally standard. It has crossbars at the top, crossbars too at the bottom, and that makes these incredibly stable. I think they're rated to hold like 2,000 pounds. But if you're somebody who wants to mount like boom arms and things here, you don't have a lot of room, and because of this crossbar in the back, you have no space on the other side to mount anything. So without those crossbars, this desk is no longer like 2,000 pounds stable, but it's still way more sturdy than any normal desk would be. But I did have a bunch of stickers on my desk, and I love stickers almost as much as Bandrew from Podcastage, so I took this cross piece and put it here on this desk because I still wanted the stickers to be there, and they look neat in the background of videos. But while we're under the desk, one of the big changes is I found these little mounts for the Mac Mini on Amazon, and so I mounted my M1 base model Mac Mini underneath the desk, and I also mounted my Hagibis SSD USB hub as well, which is great. So now that stuff's off the desk, and when I'm sitting here, I have easy access to like USB ports and card reader and stuff, and there's nothing on the desk. And then I also have this XLR cable mounted underneath, so if I ever do need to add a second microphone or a second boom arm over here, I can do that really easily, and when I don't need it, it's just tucked away right there. It's XLR-ent. And the last thing under the desk is something that I think it's like the most underrated release of the past year. That's the Elgato Stream Deck pedal. This thing is amazing because you can program it just the same way you would a Stream Deck. I did a whole video about it, but you can control everything with your feet. So I use it all the time. It's absolutely awesome, and I never really hear anybody talking about it, but it's great. So getting rid of that crossbar allowed for my other biggest change to the desk, which is this monitor arm. And again, I have a whole video about this, but this has really kind of just leveled up everything. Being able to freely and easily, maybe not while I'm holding a camera, move my monitor and swivel it and position it without it really taking up any space on the desk is pretty awesome. And this is a nice heavy duty arm. And so what this lets me do now is when I'm streaming or recording, I can push the monitor out of the way. But when I'm editing and I'm not using the camera, I can move the monitor into a really comfortable ergonomic position, so that way it's very easy to work for long periods of time. And this monitor is still my same LG 34-inch ultra-wide. It's the least expensive 34-inch curved ultra-wide that LG makes. It's not a 4K monitor or anything, but it works really well, so I didn't want to 4K over any more cache. One of my favorite features is that it has Thunderbolt, so that way with just this one cable I can connect and charge my MacBook Pro. It's awesome. And so this workspace then kind of brings me to the next upgrade, which is my keyboard. I was using the Apple wireless keyboard for a long time, and I really like it, except it's a total pain to switch between devices. So when I got my MacBook and I wanted to use this display with it, switching keyboards was a total pain. This is the Logitech MX keys, and you can easily switch between 3 different devices. So I can have MacBook, Mac Mini, and my iPad, and I can switch at the push of a button, which is great. So it's very easy to plug in the MacBook. Now I have dual MacBook display with keyboard, and if I need to switch back, I can just push the Mac Mini button, and then I can go right back to my Mac Mini's display. This is probably my most controversial opinion, but my mouse is the Apple Magic Mouse, which I actually like, despite the stupid way you have to charge it, but you only have to do that like once every 6 weeks. I really like this mouse. I feel like a lot of people who don't like it don't know that you can side scroll on it, you can right click, you can program it to do whatever you want. It's great, but it also is really stupid if you want to use it with multiple devices. So this one, this black one, is for my Mac Mini, and then I went to Colorware and got a custom blue one that is for my MacBook Pro. So this is kind of dumb to have 2 of the same mouse, but I really like this mouse and how it works. So this is my MacBook mouse, and this is my Mac Mini mouse, and this keyboard works for everything. And my desk mat is still the same one that I found on Amazon. I really like it. It's starting to show a little bit of wear, but you can usually just wipe it down with a damp cloth. The brand is GDBT, and they have a whole bunch of different designs. I think it looks great when I put like products on it, so I use this a lot in thumbnails and B-roll shots, and I also love it for top-down shots where it just is a really cool textured background instead of just like the table or something like that. So on the desk we have my Stream Deck, my just regular Stream Deck. I don't have the fancy giant one. I have my little Sony remote, which works for the a7S III that I'm using right now and the FX3 there, but it doesn't work with the a7 IV over there, but that's great. And then of course I have the ATEM Extreme ISO, which is an 8-input switcher that I use for everything. I've got these little speakers, these Edifier speakers here, one there and one there, and I know they are positioned terribly for being like studio monitors, but they're fine and they sound great for listening to music and stuff, because any other time that I'm actually editing audio or video, I'm using my Rode NTH100 headphones here that I just have on this little, it's actually a really cool little wooden headphone clampy thing. And these are basically the best headphones ever. One of the biggest changes now, Rodecaster Pro 2. It is too cool. Chair is still the same white IKEA chair. I don't think they make this pure white color anymore. They make like an off-white one, but this is just like the basic IKEA desk chair. But I also have my drum stool here, and this is super comfy. Aside from having cool colors, it's really comfortable and I like it. I've been using it more in videos because sometimes when I'm in the chair and this big thing is sticking up behind me, it almost makes me feel like a James Bond villain or something, and I have a tendency to just keep spinning in it. So I found that can sometimes be distracting in videos. So instead I've been using the stool a bit more because it just looks a little cleaner on video and it's still super comfortable. It's Stoolpendous, you might say. Sort of covers the main stuff that's on my desk, but there are the things around it that are important. Of course, this shouldn't really be a surprise. This is the Sony FX3 as my main camera. And then I just have my Sennheiser MKH50, which I've been using for like 6 months now. I absolutely love this microphone. To keep more arms and things off of my desk, I use this iFootage spider crab's arm that just mounts directly onto the side of my tripod head. And now the camera and the microphone are one thing. And last year I got this big beefy Manfrotto tripod which can handle all the cameras I have plus accessories. I used to have a C-stand here, but it was taking up way too much space and I couldn't C-stand it anymore, so I put my Varipole here going from floor to ceiling, and it's super easy to mount stuff on. It's pretty sturdy, but the thing I'm most excited about is I finally got a new camera monitor. This is the Lilliput Camera Assist 4K, I think it's called. It's great. It's not super expensive or anything. I use it for a lot of things, but typically I'll have it here so that when I have my B camera, in this case it's the Sony a7 IV, but it might be the a7S III. When I have that over here, I can just run a long HDMI cable, and when I'm sitting here, I can then see myself in eCam for the main camera, and then I can see myself over here for the B camera. And this is clamped to the, oh sorry, it's not the Varipole, it's the Autopole, oops. It's clamped to that using more of the iFootage like spider crab's arms and things. These are so strong and they're just so awesome. This part actually came with this arm, but I sort of swapped them out so that way I could use the little mount from this to attach to the tripod, and I can use the clamp from the arm to attach this tiny arm here. And over here in this corner is where I've got my UPS, not my delivery system, but my uninterrupted power supply. So I guess it does deliver power. And that I think is this entire desk setup here. And we're gonna talk about, I'm gonna show you something cool that it does in a second. Now my second desk could probably be a bit more practical, but it's gotten better. So you might have seen my video where I reorganized everything. I've got my super nice, like, organized drawers that are all labeled down here, and that's been great. I have these little glass monitor stands. I got these from Monoprice, but they're really cool, and I use them for product shots sometimes because they're nice black reflective glass. And this has just become now my, like, odd camera collection. I do have, again, my headphone mount here. I have my Rode PSA 1 Plus, which currently has the Shure SM7B on it. And then right here, I have Velcroed a little remote control, because this is also important. I have 2 of these remotes. They come with these like power things, so that way I can just turn everything on, my main key light and some of my like other lights, I can just turn them on with this remote, including the ATEM Mini, which does not have a power button, and that is annoying. So now I can just turn it on and off with this remote, and it works really great. Up here, this is where I have my other monitor. I have my Bob's Burgers Gene Funko Pop. This is my fill light, the same one that I've had for like 4 or 5 years now. It's a pod mic. This is the power supply for my hair light that's mounted to the ceiling. So that's where I can turn it on and off and change some of the settings. Here's my Canon GL2 mini DV camera, my Canon XL1, my Canon L1, my Red one, and my Sony TV News ENG broadcast DV cam from 2003. And then I've also got just some, here's my Procaster and extra lights that I use for accents and stuff from time to time. And then I've got this camera, which I'm currently borrowing from B&H. This is the Blackmagic Ursa Broadcast G2. B&H let me borrow it for a month, basically just for fun to play with it, and it's a really cool camera. There's a lot of super cool similarities between a current, affordable broadcast camera and a traditional television broadcast camera. And back here I have a Nanlite PavoTube X that does the pixel hue shift. You can do anything, but I love it just constantly shifting colors. I think it looks great in the background of videos. I do have another one in the corner over there. And then I've got this other PavoTube that's just an accent light kind of leaning in the corner there. Here I've got a couple cool things. This is my Nixie tube clock. This is from a company called Mill Clock. A lot of people ask me about this. They're a Ukrainian company and they use real Nixie tubes and it's super fun. And then I have this thing, which I haven't used yet, but my wife and I are big fans of the Expanse book and TV series. And in that they have these things called hand terminals, and I found a video from the prop department where they explained how they make them. So I 3D printed and cut some, plexiglass to make my own hand terminal. So there's a little LED in there, and then it looks like a cool holographic piece of sci-fi tech. And so what I want to do is whenever I do a tutorial or something where I need to talk about using my phone or a phone app, I want to use this instead and then find a way to superimpose the phone iOS onto here. And there's no reason to do that, but I think it would be really, really fun and look super cool. And this just looks neat. And there you go, iPhone 15 Pro Max Plus. One thing that's really exciting about some of the changes I've made is how it's allowed me to use this area over here. So there's a window behind here, which used to just be kind of ugly and distracting. So I hung these impact paper rollers here. So there's backdrop rollers and I use them all the time for everything. You've probably seen them in B-roll and thumbnails and stuff. But because of how the desk is set up, I can now very easily, well, semi-easily, when I want to film over there, I can move the monitor out of the way. I can reposition the light or set up other lights. And then I also found these surfaces here, shiny black and shiny white, that I can put over here and then very quickly create a super cool little photo studio for B-roll and thumbnails and stuff like that. So even though this is a very small, seemingly useless corner of a room back there, it's actually now become like a cool photo B-roll space. And I'm sure, as you know, when you're limited on space, anytime you can get any more use out of any square inch, it becomes really, really helpful and really, really important. The biggest things I've learned as my workspace has evolved over the years is that you definitely have to make your space work for you, and sometimes there's a difference between what is aesthetically pleasing and what is actually practical, and maybe there can be a nice overlap where something is pleasing and practical. It's not always possible, but sometimes it is, and the most important thing is to just pay attention to what your specific needs are so that you can adapt your space to you. And speaking of things that are highly adaptable, thank you to everyone who helps support my channel on Patreon and YouTube channel memberships. And if you want to know a bit more about this workspace of mine that is ever evolving, check out these videos right here.